Hello, 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 beautiful, beautiful people. I'm going to wait on some of you all to get in so we can get started. Most definitely get started. And I've been trying to find, um, I don't know what happened to it. I really don't. That's strange. Hold on. Happy Wednesday. This last year, super early, but never too early. Hello, 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 beautiful, beautiful people. And happy Wednesday. Just dropping in. Hello, hello, hello to you all. Happy Tuesday. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. To those of you who will come back and catch the replay, welcome. I am Tanika, and I want to welcome you to Everyday with Tanika. Is the name of my channel. And I also want to welcome you to my part two of my intimate conversations. If you all didn't catch me on last night, make sure that you go over and check out the video and thumbs it up or what have you. I talked a little bit about growing up in my household, about different things that I went through and things that I had to overcome. I talked a little bit about abuse. Um, I talked a lot about DV. And once I ended last night, I was just telling you guys a little bit about um, my court situation, having to have CPS involved, uh, having to almost have my kids be put in foster care, all because I was trying to get away from somebody. But I thank God that I was able to do all of the necessary steps that the court required of me. Every drug test that they asked me to take, I passed. Every thing that they asked of me to do, certain requirements that I had to do. I thank God every day that I was able to get that done. So I was so thankful that I was able to get my kids back without a hitch, um, as far as dealing with the CPS and the courts. And I'm not gonna tell you that it was easy, because it most certainly was not easy. And that's why I was saying last night, and I kind of think I was talking a little bit about, when you have been abused, well, not treated right, um, and the person that did not treat you right will still, even after you've moved on, will still try and have control over your life. That's what it was with me. Even after I went through the situation of almost losing my life, uh, and even when I made a promise to God that I was most certainly going to walk away from the situation, and I most certainly did. that person was still trying to control every little aspect of my life. Um, and I just want to say this before I go on, um, talking about uh, some of the things. If you're in a situation um, that you are afraid to get out of, that you can't get out of, seek help. Seek help. You do not have to stay in any kind of situation that makes you feel uncomfortable, that jeopardizes your safety, not only your safety, but the safety of your children if you have children. So just seek help. Most certainly seek help because it's out there. It's out there. Seek help from your family, friends, whoever. It's just unfortunate for myself that I didn't have that kind of help. Within family, so I most certainly had to seek help from friends and co-workers and stuff like that. And even after I left the situation, um, this person most certainly was continuing to try to make my life a living hell, be it, following me to my job, trying to get me fired from my job, and, going to the school, until I had to go and get a restraining order. Like, what's going on here? You all, fault the women that's in these kind of relationships that leave and then go back. But I left, I never went back, never looked back, and here I am trying to do the right thing. And this person is still continuing to make my life a living hell. Um, so I acquired a restraining order against this person, and like even with the restraining order in place, it was still problems going on until I had to just go to the court and just say, hey, listen, I done went through all of this. I done like to lost my kids. I done like to lost my life. What's gonna happen here? We need to get something going. Something needs to happen. So finally, I got some help, um, and was able to go on with my life. My kids were able to just find happiness again. And I was able to find happiness again. I was going to work. I was striving on my job. Again, I had a nice home that I acquired by myself, with hard work and dedication. I did that, wasn't asking for any handouts or anything. And baby had bought me a big dog. So I finally moved on with my life, um, and just found some room for a normal in my life. Just found a little room for normal to come back in. Started going to church more, um, and so I was working, and we had to go to court because again I have children by this person, and they wanted visitation rights. So at that present moment, he had moved on with his life, thank God, and was dating somebody. I had moved on, but I wasn't dating anybody. So um, it kind of put me in a place where I was so down and depressed because I know what this person had did to me. I know how he traumatized my children, how he traumatized me. Um, and I was just upset and like in a bad space because I had to allow my children to go and be around this person for visitation. This is through the court. So, and if I wouldn't have allowed my kids to go, then I would have been held in contempt of court, the court orders and stuff like that. So just kind of down and depressed about that, and it was just a lot, and it put me into a very, very, very bad depression. Um, to the point where I didn't want to do nothing. I didn't want to go to work, and all of that. So, um, I said, well, you know what? I want to find another job. I'm gonna put in applications. So I got with my sister and a couple of friends, and we went out, did a lunch thing, and then we went and put in applications at this job. And but my mind space wasn't good. It still wasn't where it needed to be. So I absolutely put the application in, and I put the application in, and I said, well, I'm not gonna worry about this job. If they call me, they call me. If they don't, they don't. So I know the friends that had put in, they had started calling them, and I think my sister said that they had called her, and so she asked, had they called me, and I said, no, they haven't called me yet. So I'm just not gonna worry about it. See, I got mine. But if they call me, I'm probably not gonna take the job. And so she said, why? Don't let, what's going on deter you from doing the things that you have to do. So the job did call me, and I ended up going to the little interview and all of that, and ended up taking the job. Um, End up taking the job, and it kind of for the moment brought a little peace back in my life, because I was doing something that I loved, and then on top of doing something that I love, this is how I was getting ready to meet the person that I would marry and be married to for 25 years. So I ended up taking the job and started working. My uh, husband was already working there. Um, so, we would speak to each other in passing and stuff like that. Um, and would talk almost every day. Would laugh and talk almost every day. Um, And so he got up the nerves, child, and asked me one day when I went to work, could he take me on a date? And at that present moment, I don't even think that I was ready to date, because I was so worried about on the back end of things that I had going on with this toxic situation that I was gradually trying to get myself out of. So I said, well, uh, can I take a rain check on the date? But I most certainly want to go on the date. And I explained to him my situation. And he understood. So he said, well, whenever you're ready to go on this date, let me know. And we most certainly can go. So I was working, um, and a lady that was working with us, an older lady, and she just, began to start talking to me every day. And she said, God wants you to be happy. God don't want you in this slump that you're in. God wants you to be happy. And this man wants to take you out, and I think you should allow him to take you out. So I went in back and told my husband, uh, hey, you want to go on a date this weekend? And so and what I liked about my husband, not only did he want to take me on a date, we ended up taking, we did something incorporating the children as well, because he knew I had already, I'm a package deal child. I come with these children. So he made sure to incorporate the children in as well, uh, with our date. We had an amazing time, and the children had an amazing time, and only for me to get back home, um, and to see that uh, he had the toxic one had tried to break in my house again. So here I am having to get the police out here to file a report, and all of this stuff. But that's one thing I could say about my husband. He stayed right there with me, and the children. He ended up staying the night, just to make sure that we were okay. Nothing happened, you guys. Nothing happened. I'm respectable. But he ended up staying just to make sure that everything was okay with me and the children. And I really and truly appreciated that, because I had never got that. And I really and truly appreciated it. So, I said, well, hey, this may be going somewhere. I kind of like this guy, because he's a real stand-up guy. And he was. And so when the toxic one got wind that I was dating again, because of course, when the children was going over there for their weekend visitation, of course he would sit there and question the children, like they being questioned by the feds. He was questioning the children. So when he got wind that I was dating again, uh, he would ride past my house and sit out there all times of the night, all times of the morning, and follow this man to work. And it was just a whole big old mess. But one thing I could say about my husband, he did not play. He did not bother curb. He absolutely stood on the business that he was supposed to stand on. And that's why I truly, truly, truly appreciated him, because he did not play, period. Um, and so we dated. We dated for maybe about 2 years. And then he said, you want to get married? And I said, do you want to marry me? Like that. So we end up getting married. And baby, when I tell you, the toxic one was so upset. But again, when you have been in a situation where you have not been treated right, the person that did not treat you right wants to control every little aspect of your life. Um, we had moved since, I was in the house, and all of this stuff took place with the toxic one in the house. So we ended up getting us a townhouse on the south side. And so um, we got a townhouse on the south side and was doing wonderfully. Was absolutely doing good. And on the day that my husband and myself was getting married, do you know this guy called um, the phone, the phone um, from a private block number, called and said that our apartment was on fire on the day that I got married. So luckily we had people there to go and check out everything and we had someone to go over there and make sure that everything was okay. And it was just him trying to, I guess, prevent me from getting married. But baby, we was already married, child. We was getting ready to head to the reception. And that's just how it is when again you've been with somebody um that didn't treat you right, and you know, just and want you to experience or to be happy. And that's what it was for many, many years for me in my situation. And you know, when you're dealing with um unhappiness and depression, and again you have not been treated right, you will go out and look for um, all the things that you have longed for, even as a child growing up. You will go out and look for these things in people. It's not the right thing to do. I know that now. But and once you have been in a, I can say, an abusive relationship, um, you're gonna go out looking for the very thing that caused you pain in your life, the very thing that didn't treat you right. That will be the first thing that you go out and look for. But when I met my husband, I didn't get that. I didn't get that at all. I really didn't get that at all. And even from us meeting on the job, even to us dating, to us moving in together, he was always peace for me. Even with dealing with family things. And I talked a little bit about how my mom was, and how I had never ever received love from my mom. I had never ever received love from my father. My husband was that peace for me. And believe it or not, when a person does not want to see you uh, thrive or get ahead in life, they're gonna do whatever they can do to block you from being happy. Not only was I dealing with this with the toxic one, but I was also dealing with this from my own mother. My husband would go out. He was big on holidays and birthdays and different things like that. He was big on those things. So I can remember one Mother's Day, my husband had went and bought me, and that's that back then. This was when the tennis bracelets and all of that was popping, and he had went and bought me, baby, a nice tennis bracelet. It was so nice. And I can remember my mom saying, well, what did your husband get you for Mother's Day? And I said, he gave me a card with some money, but he bought me a beautiful tennis bracelet. And, you know, even though my mom treated me wrong, even though I've never ever experienced any kind of love or affection from my mom, I was still um, talk to her or go around her. You know, I'm still gonna do what the Bible says that I should do. And even though it was awful the way she did, um, and I still, you know, wanted my children to, you know, see their grandmother. Um, but we gonna talk about that too. So I ended up showing my mother the tennis bracelet that my husband had bought me, and she looked at it and said, "Oh, that's nice." And you know, Mother's Day was on the Sunday. The Monday, after Mother's Day, I have you all to know my mother had on the same tennis bracelet that I had on. Yes, she did. So again, I've never experienced a mother-daughter relationship with my mom. Never experienced that. It was always like we were homegirls first. And then it seemed like we were always in competition with each other. And growing up as a child, even in adulthood, who wants to be in competition with their parents? It's just crazy. It's crazy. But that was the relationship that I had with my parents. That was the relationship that I had with my parents. So my husband said, well, maybe you need to kind of back up from being around them too much. And so I did. We started doing stuff as a family. We started traveling and doing the things, that we wanted to do. And for a good while, my life was normal. It was okay. I didn't have to be worried. I wasn't stressed out about any of this stuff that was going on. And my life was okay. It was great. But then here comes the devil again. Want to get started up. Want to get started up. When we got married, I think my mom was in charge of doing the flowers and something else for us for our wedding, because we did a big front yard wedding, and then we did a backyard reception. It was really, really nice. Um, so I think my mom was in charge of getting the flowers and something else that she did. I have you all to know we had been married for over 6 months, and my mom came back and asked for her money back for the flowers that she had provided for our wedding. So it was just, certain things like that, um, that was, going on, that I just couldn't believe. I just couldn't believe. And I'm saying, my mom wants to be in competition with her children when all I want is for my mother to be a mother to me. All I want is for my mom to show love, to show compassion for her children. Again, never got it. Here I sit today, 53 years old. And when I tell you that I've never, ever, even in her passing, before she passed, I've never, ever heard my mother say, I love you, to neither one of her children, neither one of us. And I talked to my aunt about this a lot. I talked to my aunt about it a lot. Um, I just don't understand how a person can be like that gave birth to children, but then treat them like they're somebody else's. And when I began to talk about some of the abuse that I suffered at the hands of my mom, my aunt just teared up automatically. She said, as a child, we know children tend to over exaggerate things. But I can pull my pants leg up and show you guys some of the bruises and cuts that I have, not from running, flipping, and jumping as a child, but from the abuse that I suffered from my mother. From the abuse that I suffered from my mom. Um, just her even, just doing some evil things to me. Um, I can remember, and this is before my aunt removed my sister from the house. I can remember my mom. I told you guys on last night that my mom was in a relationship with a lady, and the lady had 3 children, just like my mom had 3 children. And I can remember it being Thanksgiving. It was being Thanksgiving. So, you get excited around the holidays because, baby, it's finna be some cooking. It's finna be some baking going on. It's finna be all this stuff going on. So, my sister, my brother, myself, we excited because we just know that we finna have a good time for Thanksgiving. My mom went in there and packed her a bag and went to the lady's house for Thanksgiving and left us 3 children at home. My sister stepped up, and while everybody else was eating Thanksgiving dinner, um, we were at home eating, and I would never ever forget. And this was as a child, maybe 13 or so, maybe 13, 14. Uh, and for Thanksgiving, we ate chicken legs, fried chicken legs, bread, and pork and beans for Thanksgiving. While my mom was with the lady and her children eating all of the Thanksgiving dinner and cakes and all of that she cooked and baked there. So that was the dynamic of our household um, growing up. And it was a lot of that going on. And people that had relationships with their mothers and their fathers, even my friends, I would look at them and think to myself, well, it's something wrong with this picture. Their parents are supposed to be cussing and fussing and, not paying them no attention, not caring what they do and how they do and all of that. Because I never saw that at home. I never got to experience that at home. And I honestly didn't. But I still tried to, even growing up into adulthood, I still tried to respect my mother. Um, if she needed something, I still tried to provide what she needed, even though whatever I needed, she never ever provided for me. Never. Even down to school clothes and school supplies. Never purchased that. Just never. My aunt would get me paper and pens, and if I needed, school clothes and stuff like that, um, she would, try and get that for me. Or if not, I would have to wear my sister's hand-me-down clothes to school and her shoes to school. That was just the dynamic of growing up in my home. And again, and I know I'm going, over, but like I said, this is going to be in parts because I really want to just talk about all of the things that I experienced, but I'm talking about it as I remember these things. Um, but it's a hurting feeling to be a child and to never ever get the love that you need and want from your parent. And I like I said, I used to just say, all the time, if God blesses me with children, um, I'm never ever gonna treat my children the way that my mom treated me. I'm never going to do that. Never gonna allow myself to do that. And then when I tell you when a person is an abuser, or a person has been abused, they will go out and look for the very thing that has mistreated them. And I know, for a minute, my sister had got out and got into a situation where it was happening all over again in her life. And she went through some horrible, horrible, horrible things. They were so horrible. And I just remember praying, God, please remove her out of this situation. Haven't we been through enough as children? Do we have to go through this stuff in adulthood? Just please remove this from her. Really and truly remove her from this. When I tell you it was just so hard just growing up, just wanting to just be a kid, just wanting to do the things that children do, but not being allowed to do those things because you have to grow up really fast. You have to always be on your P's and Q's because after one of these wild, wild parties, you don't know who's gonna try to slip in your room and that don't supposed to be in there or anything like that. You just don't know. So you always have to be on your P's and Q's, even as a child. Even as a child. But life was hard. Life was hard. And I've had so many, growing up, so many disappointing moments. So many disappointing moments. I can remember making the AB honor roll. And as a child, you're so excited because, hey, you done made good grades. And some people that made good grades, their parents was giving them money and they was taking them out and just celebrating and excited because these children made good grades. When I took my report card home with good grades, it was thrown on the floor and stepped on. And it's a hurting feeling when when you're longing to be loved, but there's nobody to love you. Nobody. And we know that the Bible said God loves us. God loves us all. But how do you, as a child, when you're not being taught anything about the Bible or God, um, how do you know? Do you just supposed to believe what people say about God loving you when you're actually not being taught that or being shown that? Y'all, let me cut this light on. And it was really hard, and a lot of thoughts of hatred I carried a long time. I carried a lot of hatred in my heart a long time for my mother because of the way that she treated me growing up as a child. And I can remember my mom had this good friend. And one particular day, I was sitting at home and we were having it was a tornado warning. And so they were letting, my kids were in middle school at the time. And I was waiting on my apartment to get ready. So I had to go and I asked my mom, could I stay at her house until my apartment got ready? So even in adulthood, my mom was still trying to, be up. And so my mom's friend called me one day and she said, hey, Tanika. I said, hey. She said, can you talk for a minute? And I said, sure. She said, and I'm saying this because God put this on my heart and I just have to tell you. I said, okay. Hey, Omar, what's going on? She said, your mom will have everybody thinking that it's you. She'll have everybody thinking that it's you until I saw for myself today that it was not you. It's not you at all. She said I went because her little girl also went to the same school that my kids went to. And so, mind you, again, it was a tornado warning. And they were letting the kids out early for school. So my mom was in the car with this lady. And so she was there picking up her child from school. And so, it's raining, it's pouring down, raining. And she said, um, okay. She said that once they were riding, that my mother saw my children walking in the rain, soaking wet. Um, and so the lady said she stopped and asked my mom, don't, there go your grandkids. Do you want me to stop and pick them up since you finna go home? And my mother told her, no, let them walk. And when she told me that, I said, what? She said, yes. She told me to let your children walk in the pouring down, thundering rain. She said, I could not believe it. And I just started crying, riding. She said, I could not believe that your mother was doing her own grandchildren like that. She said, your mother, the way she tells everybody things about you, will have them thinking that you are the most evilest person in the world. And today I found out that it's not you. It is not you. It is never been you. I knew that already. I knew that already. But I was the type of person, yeah, you can do whatever you want to do um, to me because I can most certainly handle myself. But you're not going to mistreat my children on no day. You're absolutely not going to mistreat my children on any given day. I'm just not going to allow that to happen. My siblings and myself, we had no choice. We had to go through all of this stuff. Um, But I was absolutely not going to allow her to mistreat my children. I just was not going to do it. And I was so happy when my apartment got ready. And I'm gonna tell you how God blesses us, how God blesses people. I can remember being there waiting on this apartment to get ready. And I had thrown away all of my stuff, thrown away all of my stuff, and I wanted to get new stuff. And I said, well, I'll just go ahead and get new stuff. Once we get in the apartment, I had my beds, and all of that, but I wanted new kitchen stuff, new living room stuff, all of that. So, of course, when you having to pay deposits and first month rent and all of this stuff, it kind of wears and tears on your pockets. So, um, my boy's father, uh, of course, we had to go to child support court, and he was paying child support. So I know that once his child support was paid, and then every end of the month, I would get a check for maybe 67 or $167 every end of the month. And so I can remember my mom just being so evil and dirty to my children. They would call me when I was at work and say, when you get off, could you stop and get us something to eat? Because grandma said we can't eat here. She said we can't eat nothing here. So could you bring us something to eat? And mind you, I was the one who bought the food. I bought the food, but you said my children can't eat there. So get off from work, just upset, boo-hoo crying, because I'm still understanding why is the abuse now gone from her children. Now she wants to afflict this on my children. So stopped and got my kids something to eat and all of that. And the postman used to run late in the evening. So I can remember hearing the mail drop down in the box, in the mailbox. So me and my kids was back there, they were eating, and I wanted to make sure that they had eaten and that they had gotten their baths, and I made sure everything was cleaned up so she wouldn't have nothing to say again, because we were at her house waiting on my apartment to get ready. Um, so they were back there eating, and again I heard the mail drop down in the box. And so I went up front. She was in her room. I went up front, and got the mail out of the box. So again, every end of the month I was getting this check for maybe $67 or $167, whichever one it was. I can't remember. So when I separated the mail, of course I see when the child support checks used to come out in the gray and white envelopes, checks. So I remember getting that. I said, well, here go this 67 or $167. I'll just take this and get the children some snacks. So passed my mom her mail, and I went on to the back with my mail. So my church, I said, well, here go the $67, y'all. We'll go to the store when y'all get out of school, because I'm off tomorrow, and get y'all snacks, and everything y'all want from the store. And so when I opened it up, y'all, it wasn't nothing but God. When I opened the envelope up, it was $8,000. It was an $8,000 check. And I said, wait a minute. What? Oh, wait a minute. Am I looking at this right? Am I looking at this right? It was $8,000. I had gotten his child support. I mean, not child. Well, of course, I had gotten his child support, but this was the back pay that was owed to me. So, and my children, and you know, it's really and truly sad for your children to look you in your eyes and ask, Mom, could we go to a hotel? Because they didn't want to be in their grandmother's house. And I accommodated my children because I wanted them to be somewhere where they were comfortable. I didn't have to worry about them eating because I was going to make sure I provided uh, them something to eat. I would have never told them that they couldn't eat. And I just wanted us to be somewhere where we could just be comfortable and wouldn't have to have nobody looking at us sideways. And you know, and I'm going to work. I'm worried about you mistreating them. You know, hitting on them and all of this different type of stuff. And so, um, we went to a hotel, and I think we stayed at the hotel 3 days before the people was calling saying that my apartment was ready. And I was so blessed and so thankful that I was able to do uh, everything that I needed to do at that time. Just so blessed and so thankful. So blessed and so thankful that I was able to do um, everything that I needed to do. And even with my children being in middle school, they all three have always made good grades. Even in high school, they've always made good grades. And it was uh, an accomplishment to me. Um, it was an accomplishment to me because knowing the things that their mother had gone through and what my mother tried to put them through, but it was not happening. They still got up and did the things that I had asked of them, even when they were kids growing up. Y'all don't owe me anything. And I've always had that conversation with my children while they were younger. You all don't owe me anything but to finish school and do something positive with your life. That's the only thing you owe me. And my job as your mother while you're growing up is to take care of you, to provide and protect for you. That's my job as your mother. So I upheld my end of the bargain and they upheld theirs. And I was just so very, very proud of my children for accomplishing uh, things that they did in life. Even now, so proud of my children. And I can remember my children graduating from high school. Nobody showed up, you know, but who was front and center? Their mother. Nobody from my family showed up to my children's grad. Neither one of them. And you know, and I kind of made the decision that whatever the children have, whatever they're into, I'm going to make sure that I am there front and center. I don't care if I'm sick or whatever. I'm just gonna have to throw on a mask and be there. That's something that again I never experienced as a child growing up. And I ask my aunt often, I ask my mother's only sister that's living, And I had just gotten off the phone with her before I jumped on this live. Um, why was my mother like that? And she said, I just don't understand where it came from. I don't understand where it came from because our mother didn't treat us like that. Our father didn't treat us like that. I just don't understand why she did her children like that. I really don't understand. I really don't understand. And I said, well, maybe she didn't show us love because nobody showed her love. And my aunt said, no, that's not the truth. That is not the truth because my mom was the youngest of four children. And she got everything that she ever wanted, my aunt told me. She got everything that she ever wanted in life. So I just don't understand why all of the anger, um, all of the abuse and all of that. I don't understand where it came from. I don't understand where it came from. And if you don't be careful, you will become the very person that did those things to you. If you don't be careful, you will become that person. And I tried my hardest not to uh, be that person. I've never ever been that person. You know, I made sure that I did the things that I needed to do as far as my children were concerned. Had a good husband, a good team. He was the more lenient one with the children as far as letting them get away with murder, and me having to be the hard one. Didn't have to whoop my children, baby. I could just look, and we gonna get this together. It didn't even take all of that, but I was just that parent. But I just thank God for His grace and His mercy again because I have so been through a whole lot. Hold on one second. But so been through a whole lot in life. But again, I just thank God for it all because everything you go through is a life lesson, and it was a lesson well learned. Hey, True, what's going on? Okay, make sure you all hit the like button for me. And then if you haven't done so, hit that sub button for me as well. It was so greatly be appreciated, and it's also helping me build this channel. So please and thank you so much. And I'm just sitting here telling you all a little bit about the things that I have went through Um, and just blessed and thankful. Just blessed and thankful that I was able to overcome all of it. What you been up to, True? You been missing in action. Y'all, I'm going to end this live, but I'm going to come right back on. So let me go ahead and end this part 2 of my intimate conversation, and I will talk to you in a little bit. So make sure you come back, True. Make sure you come back. I'm going to come back live in a little bit. So stay tuned.